This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, February the 16th, is a longtime tennis analyst who was a former player and was known for his shot-making skills, but his on-court behavior that caused him a lot of trouble with umpires and authorities. This man was the number one in singles and doubles, which was unusual, winning 77 singles and 78 doubles titles, the highest combined total of the Open era. He won 7 Grand Slam singles titles, 4 in the U.S. Open and 3 at Wimbledon, not winning in Australia or France. He won 9 Grand Slam doubles titles, 5 at Wimbledon, 4 at the U.S. Open, so he would not win an Australian or France in either the singles or doubles. Well, he won a mixed doubles title at the French Open. And in 1984, he had one of the greatest years of all time, 82-3. Like, he had it made in the shade, if you will, but he failed miserably. McEnroe won 8 year-end singles tournaments and 7 doubles. So, anyway, he was an icon and contributed to 5 Davis Cup titles for the U.S. and named team captain. He is Johnny McEnroe, who's now 63 years old. One of the best TV commentators around. He was born in West Germany because his father was stationed with the U.S. Air Force. And his father said that John was made in Belgium but born in Germany. Funny. McEnroe had Irish roots and all that. So anyway, John had his 2 younger brothers, Mark and Patrick McEnroe. So he was pretty good with tennis and all that. As an 18-year-old amateur, he actually won the French Open mixed doubles with Mary Carrillo. Ironically, at times being part of the commentary with Carrillo. He actually went through Wimbledon's qualifying tournament because he needed to qualify and into the main draw, where he lost in the semifinals to Jimmy Connors. It was amazing. I mean, the guy freaking had to go through a qualifying tournament and got to the main draw and got to the semifinals. It was the best performance by a male qualifier in any Grand Slam tournament. Well, he was still an amateur. There's one. Yeah, I guess so. But anyhow, he was actually recruited and entered Stanford University to play tennis and all that, helping them win the NCAA tournament. But then he would join the ATP Tour later in '78 and sign his professional endorsement deal. He got to the semifinals of the Grand Slam, losing to Jimmy Connors. And then he would win 5 titles that year. He was ranked number 4. Kind of weird. Could have played in the NCAA and then he left. Anyway, McEnroe would win the Wimbledon doubles title in '79 with Peter Fleming. And then they won the U.S. Open doubles title. McEnroe didn't win Wimbledon, but he won the U.S. Open title, beating Vitas Geraltias in straight sets, becoming the youngest male title list at the U.S. Open since Pancho Gonzalez in 1948. He also won the World Finals, beating Bjorn Borg in 4 sets. So McEnroe won 27 titles, 10 singles, 17 doubles, which is an Open era record, finishing at number 3 in the ATP rankings. And then he would face off in the 1980 men's final against Bjorn Borg, his first final at the hallowed ground in England. And Borg gunning for his 5th consecutive Wimbledon title. It was huge. McEnroe was actually booed by the crowd because of his heated exchange with officials after beating Jimmy Connors in the semis. But the 4-set tiebreaker would break a lot of hearts. In 20 minutes, it was a tight tiebreaker. And remember, John McEnroe was down match point 5 times, and Borg looked like he was going to win his 5th title in the 4th set, but not for long. McEnroe managed to win 18-16, the 4th of 5th set. Sadly, though, Borg won 8-6 in the 5th set, and it was over. However, ESPN did think it was the best Wimbledon final ever, until Nadal-Federer 2008 comes to mind. Anyway, McEnroe would win against Borg in the final of the U.S. Open in another 5-set thriller. He was ranked number 2 behind Borg. Unfortunately, McEnroe got himself to a lot of problems with his outbursts. And 1981 was one key example. He faced Tom Gullickson in the first round, but he was fined $1,500 and was almost thrown out after he called Ted James, the umpire, the pits of the world and swore at the tournament referee. He made famous the phrase, "You cannot be serious," which years later was McEnroe's autobiography title. Of course, his conduct was in contrast to Borg, who was the Iceman, who was unflappable. McEnroe would not lose his temper against Borg, which was weird. Of course, there was a lot of problems from the British press getting angry at him, but Charlie Steiner, well-known broadcaster, was there at Wimbledon. He got in a fight with a British tabloid guy. But anyway, McEnroe would reach the finals against Borg, and McEnroe would win in 4 sets, taking down Borg and forcing Borg to lose for the first time in a long time in England. Bud Collins, the great commentator, quipped after the battle, paraphrasing Yankee Doodle, "Stick a feather in his cap and call it McEnroe, because that happened on the 4th of July, 1981. Unfortunately, there was controversy. In response to McEnroe's on-court outburst, the All England Club did not give him honorary club membership, which was given to singles champions after their first victory. Respondent, McEnroe would not attend the champions' dinner. However, when he won his 2nd Wimbledon, they gave him the thing. Anyway, Borg and McEnroe would face it off in the 81 U.S. Open, which McEnroe won, making him the first male since the 1920s to win 3 straight U.S. Open titles. Borg would never play another Grand Slam title or event, which is like a big question mark. Oh, that. He was the AP Athlete of the Year, the 2nd tennis player to do so after Don Budge in the 1930s. So anyway, McEnroe would lose Wimbledon to Jimmy Connors, and he looked good. Unfortunately, Connors would win the 4th and 5th set. McEnroe fell in the semis of the 82 finals, of the 82 thing, and his title reign was over. McEnroe would come back to the Wimbledon final in 83. Only lost 1 set to a Romanian and swept Chris Lewis of New Zealand, who somehow got into the finals. It's like, how the hell did Chris Lewis get to the finals? Did he have a tough draw, or was it just pure luck? He was unseeded. Oh, that. So yeah, that. Chris Lewis, how did he get out of his group? So Chris Lewis, he beat Denton of the U.S. number 9. Then he beat an Australian. He beat Dyke, Bauer, the Nigerian Odisor. Wow. And then Lewis beat Purcell and Kevin Curran. So Lewis didn't really face any stiff competition getting to the final, except for Kevin Curran. So, yeah. So he beat Curran. But who was the onesie? Jimmy Connors lost to Curran. Okay, so it would have been Jimmy Connors probably against Chris Lewis. Regardless, he looked good. He lost in the 4th round of the U.S. Open, and he actually played at the Australian Open for the first time, losing in the semis to Mats Wilander. Surprised that he wouldn't play in the Australian Open. But in 1984, his best season happened. He was 82-3, which was amazing. All that. He won Wimbledon, he won the U.S. Open. Could have been better. He had a 4-2 match win streak and got to the French Open final against Ivan Lendl, which was amazing because he'd never been to the French Open final. McEnroe won the first 2 sets, but unfortunately Lendl used topspin lobs and cross-court shots to wear out McEnroe, and McEnroe had a couple of outbursts, resulting in a terrible 5-set loss and all that, and basically said that he never got over it. But he did win Wimbledon, only losing 1 set, and by beating Jimmy Connors in the final. He would win the U.S. Open by beating Lendl. All that. Unfortunately, the 84 season was also known as John McEnroe's famous, when he had his most famous outburst, bigger than the 1981 Wimbledon one in Sweden. He won the Stockholm tournament. But anyway, he was not happy with a call by the chair umpire. Says, no mistakes whatsoever. Second service. Answer my question! The question, jerk! And McEnroe slammed his racket into a juice cart beside the court in anger. He was suspended for 3 weeks because he exceeded a limit on fines because of his behavior. He could not compete in the London tennis indoor tournament. And he actually injured his wrist in practice, with him making him withdraw from the Australian Open. So in 1985, he got to the semis of the French Open, but lost to, well, he reached the semis in the French Open, but lost to Kevin Curran in the Wimbledon quarterfinals, which was shocking. All that. He lost to Ivan Lendl in the U.S. Open final. He would be the ranked number 2 player, but the pressures at the top was too much for McEnroe to handle, and he actually took a break on tour, 6 months. It was on the sabbatical that he would actually marry famous actress Tatum O'Neal, because he had a son with her, Kevin. They would have 2 more children, Sean and Emily, before they divorced in 94. But he returned later in 86, winning some tournaments, but, you know, he had problems. He was suspended for 2 months following the U.S. Open in 87 for verbal abuse. McEnroe was a legend, being number 1 for 170 weeks, but his doubles game was much better. He formed a powerful partnership with Peter Fleming, winning 7 majors together, which was amazing and all that. McEnroe would actually win a U.S. Open doubles title with Mark Woodfrow, who would be actually known for his partnership with Woodbridge, a fellow Australian, and a 5th Wimbledon men's double title with Michael Steek. The Davis Cup. He did well in the Davis Cup. That's basically like the World Cup of tennis, if you will. That's held every year. But he was actually responsible for reviving U.S. interest in the Davis Cup. Many U.S. players would shun it because it's not worth it and all that. But McEnroe would help U.S. beat Great Britain in the final in 78. It would help him win in 79, 81, 82, and 92. Set a lot of U.S. Davis Cup records. And, of course, he played with Pete Fleming in doubles. McEnroe would have a couple of long matches in Davis Cup history. 6 hours, 22 minutes against Mats Wilander in the quarterfinals against Sweden. And McEnroe lost to Boris Becker in Hartford. 6 hours and 20 minutes. So that was huge. But the final years on the tour, McEnroe was a shell of himself. There were rumors that he had abused drugs, but it didn't work out. So he tried his best, but didn't do so well. Unfortunately, controversy would bite him in the butt in the 1990 Australian Open. In the 4th round against Michael Pernfors, McEnroe was actually ejected for swearing at the umpire, supervisor, and referee. Of course, he was upset because there was a crying baby in the stands as well. He was warned for intimidating a lineswoman, but docked a point for smashing a racket. But McEnroe was actually unaware that a new code of conduct meant that a third code violation would not lead to the deduction of game, but is an immediate disqualification. Of course, when McEnroe has abused at the umpire, he was defaulted. So it's 3 strikes, not 4. Anyway, McEnroe would get to the semis in the 1990 U.S. Open, losing to Pete Sampras. So it was huge and all that. In 92, he got to the Australian quarterfinals, but lost to Wayne Ferraro of South Africa. McEnroe got to the semis of Wimbledon, but lost to Andre Agassi. So McEnroe retired in 1992. So anyway, he was a working musician and actually formed the Johnny Smith Band with himself as lead singer and guitarist, writing smalls and playing small gigs in cities and all that. But he couldn't sing to save his life. McEnroe married Patti Smith, who told him that one of us will be on a music tour and it ain't going to be you. So McEnroe decided to be a sports commentator for tennis and all that. He actually was in the movies Mr. Deeds and Sohan. McEnroe actually had a CNBC talk show called McEnroe, but unfortunately twice it earned a 0.0 Nielsen rating, canceled within 5 months. He would actually host the game show The Chair on ABC and even did the British version, but it was unsuccessful. McEnroe said he unwillingly took steroids. Phony. But anyway, yeah. McEnroe would be in a few things and all that. McEnroe was actually part of Milos Raonic coaching team for part of 2016, but no. There. So anyway, McEnroe had 3 kids with Tatum O'Neal, but when Tatum had her addiction to heroin, McEnroe was awarded sole custody. McEnroe has 2 daughters with Patti Smith, Anna and Ava, so he did well for himself, winning all those titles and all that. He still holds the record for best winning percentage in 1 year in the ATP Tour. He actually has 11 straight victories in a Grand Slam without losing a set, which is tied by Federer and Nadal. He has 8 singles and doubles titles combined at Wimbledon. That's still a record. And US Open, he has 8 singles and doubles titles. So a lot of people liked him and all that. McEnroe was mentioned in Jump Around, the famous song Jump Around that Wisconsin uses and all that. So anyway, he was happy and all that. Borg versus McEnroe. Yeah, he was in some episodes. A TV show. But, he's still good and all that. Can't be that. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.